広島、長崎原爆犠牲者75周年追復母代のために仏説マカハンニャハラミタシ業漢字財宝作業人ハンニャハラミタジ上限語文会苦労一切苦役者利子式不意苦苦不意式式即税苦苦即税式重創業式薬部尿税者利子税小福総不小不滅福上不増不減税航空重無式無重創業式無限に微税新に
Thank you, everyone, for coming here today on this day, August 9th. Thank you for joining us for our annual commemorative service for atomic bomb victims and survivors. I will be joined today by Mrs. Midori Seno, who is our secretary, and by Dr. Gloria Montenegro Saller, who is our historian. And normally we would gather on the first Sunday of August at Koyasan Buddhist Temple to observe our annual commemoration service, but this year, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we have decided to do this online. In a way, it's the silver lining is that by going online, we actually are able to reach people that normally could not attend our ceremony. And we actually, I've seen people come who are here from Japan even. So we want to thank you for those of you who are up early in the morning. Thank you very much for being here. At this time, 75 years ago, the city of Nagasaki had just been bombed by the second nuclear weapon to be used in warfare. Buildings were destroyed, fires burned, and innocent lives were killed. So at this time, we're going to ask that all of you take a moment to say a silent prayer to honor those lives that were lost in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Thank you, everyone. While we wish that we could see all of you in person, we're glad that you're able to be here with us. At this time, I would like to turn it over to introduce Mrs. Midori Seno.
皆様、こんにちは。私はロサンゼルスに本部を置きます、米国広島長崎原爆被爆者協会、略称 ASA と申します。で、秘書を務めております清野みどりです。ASA はご存知のように被爆者の団体ですので、メンバーは揃って後期高齢者です。現在、更科会長をはじめ、8名の理事たちがいろんな行事のお世話をしております。この中に3名の被爆者ではない理事たちがいます。この理事たちが最新の技術を取り入れてメディアとの連絡、長距離の運転、最新のテクニックのアドバイスをしてくださり、高齢者のグループをリードしてくれていまして、大変ありがたく思っています。この他に最近、被爆者のメンバーのお孫さんでコンピューターに詳しい方も一人加わりまして、支えてくださっています。この度の第75回の原爆期は、新型コロナウイルス蔓延の中、高野山ロサンゼルス別院からではなく、Zoom システムを使って務めさせていただきます。Dr. Gloria,どうぞ。
So since the early 1990s, ASA has been gathering, its members been gathering to Koyasan Betsuin Buddhist Temple for their annual commemoration event. The reason for Koyasan Betsuin Buddhist Temple is that it's the permanent home of the Hiroshima Peace Flame. The Hiroshima Peace Flame was a gift from the city of Hiroshima to the city of Los Angeles in the mid-1980s. And while for 5 years or so, they tried to find a permanent home for the Peace Flame, it was housed still at Koyasan. And in the early 90s, it was decided that the Koyasan Betsuin Buddhist temple in Little Tokyo, here in downtown Los Angeles, would be the permanent home of the flame. We are grateful that you could make it today. And as mentioned earlier in the opening picture that you saw, we've received special messages from the mayor of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And although they are in Japanese, we will provide the translation in the chat room. And now I'll give it back to Midori-san.
松本先生を紹介します。高野山ロサンゼルス別院にいらっしゃいます松本雄樹主幹のメッセージをビデオでお送りします。I'm introducing Bishop Matt of 高野山ロサンゼルス。これはどうなんだろう。
無常人事未明百千万語南宋具が根源門徳十字関係如来真実義広島長崎原爆犠牲者75周年追復菩提のために仏説マカハンヤハラミタシ行漢字財宝作業人ハンヤハラミタジ上限語雲海苦労一切苦役者利子式不意苦苦不意式式即税苦苦即税式重創業式薬部尿税者利子税小福総不小不滅福上不増不減税航空中無式無重創業式無限に微税真に無式証拠未足を無限界内世無芸式界無無明薬無無明人内世無老死薬無老死人無空襲滅道無知薬無得意無常特攻膨大殺大へ般若波羅蜜多高深無経験無経験公無空恩理一切天道無足行根は三世小仏へ般若波羅蜜多高徳阿徳多羅三脈三宝大高知般若波羅蜜多世大人種世大名種税無常種税無東道種農場一切空真実高公説般若波羅蜜多収束摂取圧やてやてはらやてはらそやてぼじそわか般若心行皆さんこんにちは。私は今年の1月に日本からやってまいりましたこの高野山米国別院の主幹を今務めております松本雄樹と申します。私は40年前にこの別院におりました。その時にはこちらにございます平和の灯火はございませんでしたが、今回改めてこのロサンゼルスにお勤めさせていただいて、この大変な重要なお勤めとして 毎朝こちらのフレームを供養させていただいているというところでございます。Hello everyone. My name is Yuju Matsumoto. I am the bishop of this Koyasan Beikoku Betsuin from January. It passed about 6 months. So I have been praying for world peace with this Hiroshima Nagasaki peace light. Because of the coronavirus, COVID-19, this year, I only myself had service. The young older ministers went back to Japan, so I am the only one who prayed for world peace, and then I did a memorial service for Hiroshima Nagasaki atomic bomb victims. So today my message is, watching this video, maybe you have different religion and different philosophy, thinking. このビデオを見ていらっしゃる皆さんの中には仏教じゃない人もいるかもしれない、他の宗教を信じていらっしゃる、あるいは哲学を持っていらっしゃるという方もいらっしゃるでしょう。でも私たちの心はみんな一つです。But although we have all the different thinking, but our heart is the same. So what is our thinking, or our heart is to those people who are the victim of atomic bomb? We are having praying their all the sufferings go away, and then what do you say? All the wars and all the sufferings. We have the same heart, that even if we have different religions, philosophies, or beliefs, we are convinced that our heart is beyond that. It is praying for the souls of the victims of the atomic bomb, and at the same time praying that the world will not repeat that tragic event of war, that we can work together to create a peaceful world. 20年前に私は広島の原爆ドームに行ってきました。20 years ago, I went to Hiroshima's atomic bomb dome, and I went to Hiroshima Peace Park. I don't know how to say. Hiroshima 平和都市記念碑. There is the statue that Hiroshima did with the words of the pledge engraved on it. Rest in peace. 安らかに眠ってください。Shall never be repeated this mistake. 二度と過ちは繰り返しませぬからと刻まれていました。This Koyasan temple, the light of peace that continues to illuminate in the Koyasan Beikoku Betsuin of Los Angeles, is not only memorial for those who died after being killed by an atomic bomb 75 years ago, but this light of peace also guides us from the present to the right direction. We must truly believe that it is the light of truth, and at the same time we have continued to light ourselves and remember we shall not repeat our mistake. そう、私たちのですね、この高野山米国別院に灯し続けられている平和の灯火は、現代の私たちを正しい方向に導いてくれる知恵の光でもあるのです。過ちを繰り返しません。そう私たちは祈る。それが大切だと思います。So let us pray with everyone for the victims of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, as well as the victims of the wars that have been repeated, and swear to our hearts we shall not repeat our mistakes. そう、さあ私たちとですね、今ビデオを見ていらっしゃる皆さんと一緒に広島、長崎の犠牲者の方々をはじめ、過去そして現在も繰り返し続けられている戦争の犠牲になった方々のために祈りを捧げる。そして私たち自身がみんな心の中に誓いましょう。二度と再びこの悲劇を繰り返しませんようにと私たちと一緒にお祈りしましょう。さあ、仏教スタイルでいきましょう。Hand together, 合唱 please, and say, repeat after me, okay? 南無帰依仏、南無帰依法、南無帰依僧、南無大師、返上金剛、南無大師、返上金剛、南無大師、返上金剛。
I'm introducing our President, Mr. Junji Sarashina. ASA の会長のサラシナ・ジュンジのビデオメッセージをお届けします。
My name is Junji Sarashina. I'm the president of American Society of Hiroshima Nagasaki Atomic Bomb Survivors. We have approximately 250 members Hibakusha in Southern California, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona, and in Hawaii. I was born in Lahaina, Maui, Hawaii. My father was a Buddhist minister. When I was 8 years old, our family moved to the city of Hiroshima to learn Japanese language, at the same time to take care of the Buddhist temple. 1945, August 6. I was 16 years old, high school student, 1.5 miles away from the hypercenter, forced to work in a factory making ammunition, explosive. 8:15 in the morning, the bomb exploded over my head. My world was covered with orange glow at the same time. The tremendous power and force knocked me down flat on my face. I was covered with tiles, lumber, wood, rocks, sand. I couldn't hear, I couldn't feel, I couldn't see. At that moment when the bomb exploded, about 120,000 people in Hiroshima lost their lives. 3 days later, another atomic bomb was dropped in the city of Nagasaki. 70,000 people died. Today, we're having a memorial service for the atomic bomb victims. Let's all together pray for their souls. Thank you.
Next, Daryl Miho is one of our board members, and he's been collecting testimonies of both Japanese hibakusha and Japanese American hibakusha, and he has an extensive videography of the work that he's done over the years. So he's going to show a short video of the hibakusha that he has interviewed over the year. Not only Japanese Americans, but some of you will recognize some of the Japanese hibakusha, like Mr. Taniguchi Sunteru and Ms. Keiko Ogura.
私は長きに被爆しました谷口純輝と言います。当時16歳で爆心地から約 1.8 キロのところを自転車で走っていて被爆しました。三元堂40度といわれる石が溶かす熱線と見えない放射線のっていう後ろから焼かれ、秒速250メートル、300キロといわれる爆風で自転車のものとも4メートルが飛ばせて道路に叩きつけました。
My name is Isawa Aratani. I'm a hibakusha. I'm 79 years old now. I was 13 years old when I was exposed to the atomic bomb. I was a second-year student in junior high school. We are almost killed by the atomic bomb.
My name is Ernest Arai. I'm a hibakusha too, and born in Honolulu, Hawaii, so I'm an American citizen.
My name is Keiko Ogura. When the atomic bomb was dropped, I was 80 years old, in the second grade of elementary school. I was living at that time 2.4 kilometers away from the hypocenter. This is a map of Hiroshima City, and the red part was completely burnt, and the yellow part was completely destroyed.
We got to the near the Hijima Bridge, and my grandmother gathering the firewood. I was loading it to the handcart. All of a sudden, I heard the B-29 sound. Then when I was 10 years old, young kids, so looking for the B-29, and I found it is a 3 B-29 with the white spot, 3 white spot. That was like a parachute. Then all of a sudden, I saw the big white flash. Then I so bright it, so I just covered up the eyes and ear and turned around. Then I heard the big rumbling noise. Then I unconscious, I don't know how long, and I woke up when the pitch dark.
Suddenly, we are attacked by the terrible blue-yellow flash, and it's let us stand. And, we are blown off on the ground, and the heat wave reached us. And we had the sound of our face, and our hair is burning. We didn't have any idea what had happened.
At first, I couldn't understand why they are there, why there were so many people in front of my house on the road. Some people scarcely could reach there and they died afterwards. Dying people, most of them were dying people, badly wounded, and the skin was peeling off and hanging from the tip of nails like this, and like ghosts.
Immediately after the bombing, it was high tide. The water level is very deep. The people, victims who jumped into the river to escape from the heat of fire, died in the rivers. There are many dead bodies floated on the river.
I touched on my face, kind of smashy. So I asked him what my face, and he didn't say anything about it. He just running away. So near our house, I went home. Then my mother looked at me. Then she scary, and what happened to you? Then I didn't know what happened myself.
At that time, there no medicine, but some people believe that oil, tempura oil is very good, or sometimes oshiko, urine, is good because it contains ammonia. And some people try to mashed potato.
My friends and relatives breathing badly, like my uncle scarcely reached my home, but many, more than 30 pieces of glass speared into his back, and my sister was sobbing and then pulling out his pieces of glass, and in my house or everywhere in my garden, and people were lying and breathing badly, and smell so bad.
Wooden structures, many wooden structures are destroyed, and some people are trapped under the destroyed structures. So they asked to rescue. People tried to rescue them, people. However, they had to give up when the fire drew near.
The dreadful sight right after the bombing, I saw nightmare until I became 30 years and 40 years and so on. Still now, I have such sort of dreadful nightmare.
Although we could survive, we are not happy when we remember those people who died.
How nasty, how terrible nuclear weapon. Because of that, we shouldn't have this very this evil weapon. Of course, there are many conventional weapons. It's also dreadful, but the nuclear weapon is really different. I saw many people instantly died, and without knowing they are going to die because of radiation, they died. So many deaths was caused by nuclear weapon. That's quite different. And for the future generations, we shouldn't have any kind of nuclear.
Next, we are going to show to you the messages that were sent to us from the mayor of Hiroshima first, and then the mayor of Nagasaki.
75周年原爆期法要の開催にあたり、原爆でお亡くなりになられた多くの方々の御霊に対し、謹んで哀悼の誠を捧げます。また、在米の被爆者に対する援護の充実にご尽力いただくとともに、この法要を長年にわたり執り行われておられます。米国広島長崎原爆被爆者協会の皆様、並びに関係者の皆様に対し、心から敬意を表します。1945年8月6日、広島は人類史上最初の原子爆弾投下により、町は一瞬に廃墟と化し、多くの尊い命が奪われました。かろうじて生き延びた被爆者は、心身に深刻な傷を負いながらも、自らの体験を語り、こんな思いを他の誰にもさせてはならないとの思いと、核兵器のない世界恒久平和の実現を訴えてきました。しかし、世界では自国第一主義が台頭し、国家間の排他的、対立的な動きが緊張関係を高めるなど、私たちの訴えを翻弄するかごときの動きが強まっています。また、今、私たちは新型コロナウイルスという人類の新たな脅威に直面しています。こうした現状に立ち向かうためには、世界的な連帯を強めることは何よりも重要です。そのために我々市民は、戦争や核兵器のない状態こそがあるべき姿だということを、世界の市民社会の共通価値観にしていかなければなりません。そして、各国の為政者がそのためにリーダーシップを発揮するよう後押しもしていかなければなりません。本日では、世界の164の国や地域の約7900の平和首長会議の加盟都市とともに、核兵器廃絶に向かう為政者の行動を後押しする環境づくりに全力で取り組んでいく所存です。また、被爆75年を迎えた本年、被爆者の平均年齢は83歳を超え、高齢化が一段と進んでいます。こうした中、在外被爆者の援護については、国内被爆者と同様の援護が受けられるよう、現地の実情を踏まえたさらなる改善が必要であり、今後とも在外被爆者の方々に対する援護施策の推進が図れるよう、関係機関と連携し、引き続き国に強く働きかけを行ってまいります。皆様には今後とも絶対悪である核兵器の廃絶と世界恒久平和の実現に向け、高齢化の進む被爆者の方々と共に力を尽くして行動してくださることを心から期待しています。終わりに、原爆死没者の御霊に心からの追悼の意を表しますとともに、皆様の今後のますますのご健勝とご多幸をお祈りいたします。
Next is going to be the message that was sent to ASA from the mayor of Nagasaki.
皆さん、こんにちは。長崎市長の田上富久です。第75回広島長崎原爆戦没者法要の開催を迎えるにあたり、長崎市民を代表してメッセージを送らせていただきます。LA 長崎会の皆様におかれましては、毎年ロサンゼルスにおきまして原爆で亡くなられた方々を抱擁していただき、心より感謝申し上げます。1945年8月9日午前11時2分、長崎の町は一発の原子爆弾により一瞬にして壊滅的な被害を受けました。7万4千人の尊い命が奪われ、7万5千人が負傷しました。かろうじて生き残った人々も心と体に癒すことのできない深い傷を負い、今もなお多くの方々が放射線による高障害に苦しんでいます。核兵器の脅威を身をもって知る被爆者は、自分と同じような体験を 世界中の誰にも二度とさせてはならないと自らの痛ましい体験を語り伝え、核兵器廃絶を訴えてきました。しかしながら、被爆から75年が経過し、体験を語っていただける方々が年々少なくなり、被爆者のいない時代が刻々と近づいているのを感じています。核兵器のない世界は可能であり、必要である。昨年11月に長崎を訪れたローマ教皇フランシスコ大公は、上空500メートルで原子爆弾が炸裂した場所である爆心地で、この明快で力強いメッセージを全世界に向けて発信されました。そして、核兵器のない世界を実現するには、すべての人の参加が必要ですと述べられました。この教皇の言葉を糧に、一日も早い核兵器廃絶の実現に向けて、私たち市民社会が力を合わせ、粘り強く声を上げ続けなければなりません。皆さんの一つ一つのかけがえのない行動がたくさん集まって大きな流れを作り、平和へとつながっていきます。被爆から75年という節目の今年、広島長崎原爆戦没者法要を通して、皆様が長崎市民と平和への思いを共有し、今後とも核兵器廃絶の声を大きく発信していただくことを期待しています。最後になりましたが、主催者の皆様方をはじめ、本日ご視聴いただいている皆様方の今後、ますますのご活躍とご健勝をお祈り申し上げまして、私の挨拶といたします。
Every year, ASA invites a guest speaker, and the guest speaker is usually chosen from the community and is an individual that has been very active and socially in spreading the message for peace. This year, ASA has selected Robert M. Horsting as its guest speaker. Mr. Horsting is an oral historian, Emmy awarded producer, and documentary filmmaker. As a volunteer with the Go for Broke National Education Center's Hanashi Oral History Program, he has helped to record nearly 300 Japanese American World War II and Korean War veteran stories from across the United States since 2001. Along with artist and social activist Richard Fukuhara, who passed away a couple of years ago, he has co-produced Shadows for Peace speaker forums featuring atomic bomb survivors, executive produced and directed the mixed art stage production Afternoon of Peace, honoring atomic bomb survivors, and working with photographer Shane Sato. Mr. Horsting has co-authored the coffee table books, The Go for Broke Spirit Portraits of Courage, and The Go for Broke Spirit Portraits of Legacy. He is currently working to complete a documentary, Voyage to the Unknown, about a 1943 prisoner exchange. We are honored that Robert accepted our invitation to be our guest speaker this year. We had hoped for a different environment, but we are grateful for his participation. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Robert Horsting, the president of Shadows for Peace. I'd like to thank ASA, the American Society of Hiroshima and Nagasaki Atomic Bomb Survivors, for inviting me to participate in the 75th year anniversary observation. In looking back through the 75 years since this tragedy of the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I'm so grateful to the Hibakusha for taking the time and having the courage to share their stories of survival, the resilience that they've shown to carry on. Without their stories, we would not really understand what happens on the ground, what took place below the bomb.
B29, B3, they used to call. For me, I didn't tell in front of anybody, but I gave the nickname. Silver color, beautiful airplane is just like an angel. So in Japanese, Ohayo Tenshi-san, I gave the nickname. Welcome, because never heard, then why should you hate it? My friend and talking, B-29 come inside. Good morning, Angel. Then I look at, I said, Ori? Airplane left on the Hiroshima Bay side. But I saw first time that day, beautiful blue sky. I saw white spot, one.
Then two king, those kind of very sharp sound. So here like this. Then how many minutes? I don't know. Couple of minutes or 5 minutes. I don't know. Anyway, I wake up and like this, the whole like dust. So I thought, oh, near here, bomb. Because I never think that way.
I saw about 5 fellow classmates were looking, but the remainder is all stay in the class. First of all, only 5 of us got out first and look around, once around, which side is smoke coming out. And friend of mine all looking at me and funny expressions. And they told me, Namba, you got pretty bad, and you're not gonna make it, because I was red all over, all blood. And so they says, since we don't have any first aid, any kit, but let me check where's your blood is coming out. Yeah. So they torn my shirt's sleeve and start wiping. Pretty soon they said, you know what? This is not your blood, because nowhere we can find the cut in your body. When I heard that, I was so happy. Oh, I'm alive.
Liver, it's like so many people dead. So people, first time I didn't know, why liver. But people said, 川にはたくさん人が死んでるよ。That means in the river, any kind of river, many people dead. So we saw, we know that people said already. So burn. So everybody want water. So go to the, went to river and drink and die. So many people dead. So we saw so many small river, all same.
One of the concerns I have going forward is that as we lose the voices of these hibakusha with their passing, we'll lose that first-hand account of what it was like, the experience of surviving an atomic explosion overhead. That connection is so important because over 60% of our nation's population is under 45. Very likely they will not have a direct connection to remembering a family member or a family friend who was in Japan at the time of the bombings and lost to them forever. Therefore, it's really critical that we keep this current. We need to be aware of what's going on. For most of these people, I think if they hear the word atomic bomb, they might make that connection to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and maybe even to the news reports coming out of North Korea about the recent testing they've been doing. But will they really feel a connection to this? Will they really feel that this 75-year-old history has some relevance for them? We need to use our voices to make the leaders aware that there will be no winner in this war, and we don't want an escalation of nuclear arms. Do you realize that right now there is an escalation, and they're working with nanotechnology to miniaturize delivery systems and even the bombs themselves, with the idea that they might be able to surgically use these weapons. Seriously, there's no such thing as a surgical strike when the fallout is going to circle the globe. Please make your voices heard and don't let the lessons the Hibakusha have shared with us go to waste. Thank you.
朝の理事の一人、ハワード・柿田さんを紹介します。I'm introducing Mr. Howard Kakita. He's one of the director in ASA. Please.
My name is Howard Kakita, and I'm a Sansei born in East Los Angeles in 1938. I want to share with you my story about how a 7.5-year-old boy and his older brother Kenny, at 9 years old, got stuck in the middle of Hiroshima when the first A-bomb was dropped. Our journey starts in early 1940, when our parents took us to Japan to visit our grandparents in Hiroshima. After 6 months of a wonderful reunion, our parents had to come back to the state to resolve some business issues. With the full intent of returning to Japan, they left us and cared for our grandparents as they returned to the United States. But before they were able to come back to Japan, the war started and they were incarcerated in Poston, Arizona internment camp. And we were in the middle of Hiroshima. On the morning of August 6, 1945, school was canceled because there were enemy aircraft in the vicinity. When we heard the air raid siren go off, which is around about 8 o'clock in the morning, my older brother and I, we jumped on top of the roof to watch the distant vapor trail coming over towards Hiroshima. Lucky for us, my grandmother was a lot smarter than us, and she told us to get off the roof immediately. So Kenny and I, we gradually came off the roof, and then we went on our separate way. When the bomb went off, I was so close that I did not see the flash, and I did not hear the boom. I was thrown unconscious. Luckily, all 4 of us had survived. As the neighbors started to burn, my grandfather told us to escape towards the mountain. As we approached the main road, there was a steady stream of people with tremendous injuries trying to escape in the same direction. Some of the people had broken limbs, some had serious burns. The burns were so serious that the skin was dripping from their body. The streets were lined with people who were just about ready to die, and there were already corpses lining the street. When we found a functional train station, we rode on the train and went to an area called Kabe where distant relatives lived. And we stayed with them until the end of the war. We went back to Yokogawa, and it was really a devastating sight. The whole city was completely flat. There was nothing standing except for non-combustible items such as concrete and steel. There were still some bodies laying on the ground, and the riverbanks were lined with a number of dead bodies, and the stench of cremation permeated the air. During this period, most of us got sick with dysentery, probably due to radiation poisoning, and we had lost our hair. In the beginning of 1946, there was some return to normalcy. We started school. In the meantime, in the United States, my parents got a hold of a newspaper which had an aerial view of the destruction of Hiroshima, and it had a ring of destruction circling the epicenter. And since we were so close, they had little hope of our survival. However, they initiated a search, and after several months, the American Red Cross located us. However, it wasn't until 1948 until they had sufficient funds to buy tickets to bring us home. We did start our life in the United States with my parents and 2 younger brothers, one of whom was born in Portland, Arizona in 1944. I have been married for 58 years with 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren. I have been retired for 23 years and enjoy golfing, fishing, and traveling.
Thank you, Howard. Next, I'm introducing another ASA director, Hiroko Nakano. ASA 理事の一人、中野ひろ子さんをご紹介いたします。どうぞ。
はい、中野ひろ子です。お待たせしました。原爆が投下されて75年、4歳だった私も80歳になろうとしています。8月6日当日、小学校とともに焼け死んだ10歳だった兄も生きていれば85歳。でも永遠の小学生5年生のままです。私には自分の被爆体験を話すほどの記憶がありません。ロサンゼルスの被爆者協会には縁あって最初からお世話になって、現在理事の妙子さんのお母様である岡井智恵さんが初代会長の頃、この方のご尽力で広島からの医師団による検診が行われ、1972年の第1回から毎回参加してきました。その検診会場で少しずつ原爆の悲惨さや原爆が絶対悪の核兵器であるということを習いました。家族の一員を原爆で亡くした我が家では原爆の話は一切ありませんでした。2005年から ASA の理事の一員になってからは、広島平和公園から分党された平和の灯火を管理してくださっている高野山米国別院と共催で原爆戦没者慰霊法要の準備など、兄のためにもお手伝いできることを喜んでいます。今年は新型コロナウイルスの世界的流行に飲み込まれて、恒例の法要ができない代わりに、名誉理事のグローリア博士の発案で、サラシナ会長をはじめ、理事全員で相談して、こういうズーム法要らしきことができました。そのおかげで各方面の方々のお手伝いで、松井広島市長様、田上長崎市長様からのメッセージもいただきました。皆様、本当にご協力ありがとうございました。
ひろこさん、ありがとうございました。
はい。
次にもう一人、一番若い理事なんですが、岡部妙子さんを紹介します。I'm introducing another director. She's the youngest one as a 被爆者。妙子岡部。妙子さん、どうぞ。
今年も恒例の広島、長崎被爆者戦没者法要が参りました。1945年に広島、長崎に原爆が投下されて被爆で亡くなられた方々、その後遺症で亡くなられた方々のご遺族の皆様におかれましても75周年という記念すべく年になりました。私は胎内被爆者ですが、母も後遺症のため若くして亡くなりました。今年になり思いもよらなかったコロナウイルスのため、法要も見送りかと思われましたが、今日はズームで原爆死亡者の法要を務めさせていただきました。皆様も不自由な生活をなさっていらっしゃると思いますが、どうぞご自愛なさり、また皆様と直接お会いできる日を楽しみにしています。本日はズームでの法要にご参加くださいましてありがとうございました。
So Daryl, as every year on the occasion of our commemoration event, gives to the community a summary of the activities that ASA has carried out throughout the year. And we were kind of busy this year, and it's a good thing so that we can bring the message of peace to the community even more. Daryl.
Thank you, Dr. Saller and Seino-san. As Dr. Saller said, we were a little busy despite the pandemic. Shortly after our service last year, Dr. Saller traveled to Kyoto, and she gave a presentation to the Ritsumeikan Daigaku, and she talked about social activism and the peace activities that we do here at ASA. The following month in November was really busy for us. Doctors from Japan came to Los Angeles and Honolulu for their biannual Kenshin medical exams. And at the same time, the Japanese American National Museum opened their exhibit Under a Mushroom Cloud, which is about the bombs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and it featured artifacts that were brought from Japan to America specifically for this exhibit. It also included a section on artwork that was created by artists regarding the bombings in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Then later in this year, earlier this year, in February, Sadashina-san and Dr. Saller met with a group of 10th graders from Orange County, and they gave them a personal tour of the exhibit at Janum. Some of the students that were in attendance were actually also children and grandchildren of some of our members, including Mr. Sadashina-san's daughter and granddaughter. Namba-san's daughter and grandson also came. He was in the Robert Horsing's video, and Ernest Arai's daughter and granddaughter also came. At the same time, again on the same weekend, Shadows for Peace had an event at the Aratani Theater. Some of our members also attended that event. And we also had our third annual, well not annual, our third Hibakusha gathering, which is an event that we were able to put on thanks to a generous grant from Cato. And it allows us to bring Hibakusha together in one place so that they can meet each other, talk to each other, you know, just enjoy each other's company. And then after the luncheon, they all went to the Janum exhibit as well. So it was actually a nice treat for them to get out and then see that the stories of Hiroshima and Nagasaki are being shared here in Los Angeles. And we want to thank Janum, you know, for arranging this, and the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum. Then later on in May, we were able to get face masks, and we were able to deliver 1,000 face masks to our members so that they could be safe when they go out in public. You know, it's important for us to protect, you know, ourselves and the elderly people, because it was shown that at the time, elderly were very susceptible to this COVID-19 virus. So we're lucky to be able to get these masks and distribute them to our members. And then last month in July, Dr. Saller had a book proposal, Japanese American Citizens as Survivors of the Hiroshima Atomic Bombing. She had her proposal accepted by Routledge, Francis, and Taylor. And Dr. Saller is our historian, and she has been, she has been working hard to document our history and our activities. So thank you, Dr. Saller, and congratulations on the book. And then this month, being that it's the 75th year since the bombing, our members have been fairly busy doing interviews. If you happen to wake up early this morning and watch the Today Show, you probably saw Mr. Kakita. He was interviewed at the Japanese American National Museum. They did a segment that aired on Friday and a segment that aired this morning. He was also interviewed by the Washington Post, and we posted that on our Facebook page if you want to see that. And then also Mr. Sarashina was interviewed by he participated in a Zoom call with students from an elementary school in Hiroshima, and it was covered by the Chugoku Shinbun and a couple of the local TV stations. So, our efforts here on Zoom has made Mr. Sarashina an expert now on Zoom calls. It's made all of us experts. So we've been learning, and because of that, we were able to bring you this annual commemoration service, which we would not have been able to do without technology. So that's it in a nutshell. We hope that this pandemic will get under control so that we can resume with our lives and meet with all of you in person next year. And we're also looking forward to Janum reopening. And at that time, they're going to extend the Under a Mushroom Cloud exhibit. And once they reopen, they'll let us know how long it'll be shown again. And we'll post that up on our Facebook page. So thank you very much for attending. And I want to turn it back to Dr. Saller.
Thank you so much, Daryl. We are approaching the conclusion here. And Howard Kakita has one of the concluding messages for us today.
It's hard for me to believe it's been 75 years since the dropping of the first two primitive A-bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And during this period, the countries had a chance to improve and stockpile a huge cache of warheads scattered around the world. I did a Google search recently, and I found a chart which is kind of interesting. There are approximately 14,000 warheads altogether, most of which is contained in the United States and in Russia. Now, a small fraction of this stockpile, if used in various cities of the world, is sufficient to destroy the world several times over. After having experienced as a child in the city of Hiroshima, it's hard for me to believe that any country would be stupid enough to utilize any of these weapons. However, the political climate of the world is one of escalation. I'm sharing my story with you as other hibashas have done before me. In piecing together the various experiences of the hibashas, it will send a powerful message to the leaders of the world to stop the proliferation of nuclear weapons and ban nuclear warfare altogether. It is our hope that in the future there will be no events such as we experienced in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And it's also hoped that there will be no one in the world designated as a hibasha. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to ask Okabe-san, Nakano-san, Sarashina-san, and Kakita-san to turn their videos on. And first of all, I want to thank all of you for your cooperation in keeping the microphones and videos off. And we ask that of all the participants because we know that there are technical difficulties when everybody has their videos on. And so we really appreciate your cooperation with this. If you have any questions, first of all, if you are a member of the press, member of the media, and you need a recording of this event ASAP, please do contact Daryl Miho, darylmiho@gmail.com. If you go in the chat box, you will see his contact information over there. And if at this time you like to turn your video on, we can get to see all of you, and thanking all of you from the bottom of our hearts for attending this event. It was a lot of work, but it was so worth it. And I want to thank Sarashina-san for agreeing to this, Kakita-san for his participation, Hiroko-san for your contribution today. We all know how hard this was for you. Okabe-san, Toshi-san, Daryl, thank you very much. And of course, Robert, I see Kathleen Edmark from Hiroshima. Thank you so much, guys, for being up this early. Roger, thank you. I see Denise, Naomi Hirohara, Robert, again. We want to thank you all again. And we really look forward to seeing all of you in person next year. Daryl?
Well, I have nothing to add. I see a lot of familiar names on here, so thank you very much for coming. And I know some of you are in Japan, and it's very early in the morning, so thank you very much. And again, yeah, journalists, send me a message. My email is in the chat box. I will make this available within 15 to 20 minutes, barring any technical difficulties. But thank you very much, everyone, for coming, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Bye now.
いただいてありがとうございました。
Thank you.